something. Hey, follow me now, where see you now. Hey, upset her. See how upset her. Go outside now. On and on and on and on. I'm a winner. You know the guy. I'm a winner.
Yes, we are winning right now indeed. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rashane Reed, your Master of Ceremonies, for this auspicious occasion. I consider it a true privilege to serve in this capacity this evening. The Honorable Dr. Norman Dunn, State Minister in the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, formerly the State Minister in our Business Ministry, the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. Mrs. Sansia Bennett Templar, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. Ms. Michelle Parkins, Chief Technical Director in the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. Mr. Danville Walker, Board Chairman of the Trade Board Limited. Board Directors joining us in person and online. Dr. Major Hugh Blake, Chief Executive Officer and Trade Administrator of the Trade Board Limited. Mr. Courtney Campbell, President and Chief Executive Officer of the VM Group and our guest speaker for this afternoon. Other specially invited guests, management and staff of the Trade Board Limited, members of our extended family joining us in person and online. Most importantly, our awardees, good evening. I didn't quite hear that one. Good evening. All right, welcome, welcome. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the Trade Board Limited's 40th Anniversary Employee Service Awards Ceremony. Special welcome to our online participants, which include staff members who were unable to join us physically due to duty travel, family members of the TBL staff, and other stakeholders. Special congratulations to our awardees here tonight. This is your day. We're here to celebrate and recognize your work and worth. Now, on December 13, 1982, the Trade Board Limited was born at the Kingston Mall in downtown Kingston. Eventually, the office was relocated to Winchester Road in Kingston and then to 107 Constant Spring Road. And now we are located at 72 Harbor Street. I was born 4 years after the establishment of the Trade Board Limited. We're here to celebrate the growth and evolution of this organization over the last 40 years. Some may ponder, especially the young ones among us, what was happening in 1982. Well, I did a bit of research for you because I wasn't born then, and I recognized that at that time, Michael Jackson's Billie Jean was released. Now, Mr. Webster can help me out here because he's very au fait with music. I also saw that a very popular reggae song at that time was Bam Bam, What a Bam Bam by Sister Nancy. Some of you, you're hearing that for the first time, right? Sister Nancy. Another popular song at that time was Pass the Dutchie on the left hand side, pass the Dutchie on the... Yes, that was done by Musical Youth. Another historical fact that our politicians here will recognize is that at that time in 1982, our Prime Minister at that time was the Most Honorable Edward Seaga. So the Trade Board Limited has come a long way, as much as Jamaica has come a long way. Today we're here for a very special occasion. The theme for this awards ceremony, as you can recognize by looking at your program, is recognizing commitment to service excellence. As such, we're here to recognize those among us whose commitment is marked by long service, as well as those among us whose service is characterized by excellence. We have pure excellent people at Trade Board. Let's get a round of applause for that. So on this very special occasion this evening, we will celebrate our former employees, dedicated long-serving members of staff, and our top performers. TBL staff, are you ready? Yes, we're ready to have a good time. So we will formally begin this evening's proceedings by standing for Jamaica's national anthem, which will be done by Mr. Jordan Grayson. Thank you so much, Mr. Grayson. We will now invite the presence of the Lord through prayer, which will be done by Mr. Stanhope Marshall, Acting Director of Finance and Accounts.
Good evening, everyone. Let us pray. Dear God, thank you for bringing us together to recognize the hard work and dedication of the awardees at our 40th anniversary service. As we honor each awardee, help us to remember that all glory belongs to you. Thank you for our family, our friends, our stakeholders who have come to give support and encouragement to our awardees. I also thank you for your blessings on the Trade Board Limited for the continued guidance as we, in our own way, continue to bring growth and development to our country and our citizens of Jamaica. I give you thanks for the many blessings that lies ahead as we look forward to the many more years of contribution to nation building. We give you thanks in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall, for inviting the presence of the Lord in this place. Now, I can truly say that we shall have a grand time in this place. Amen? Amen. I now invite our astute CEO and Trade Administrator, Dr. Hugh Blake, to bring the welcome and opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Roshane. How many Manchester City fans are here today? Nobody? Oh, oh Lord. It's a good match. All right. Dr. Norman Dunn, MP, Minister of State, Ministry of Labor and Social Security. I don't believe he's here yet, but he gave me his assurance he will be here. Ms. Sancia Bennett Templo, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. Ms. Michelle Parkins, Chief Technical Director of the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. Again, gave me assurance she will be here. Our Chairman, Mr. Danville Walker. Board of Directors, Mr. Courtney Campbell, President and Chief Executive Officer of the VM Group, awardees, other special invited guests. I note that Mr. Clive Cook is here, President of the Custom Brokers and Freight Forwarders Association, and Maxine, is it Mrs. or Miss? Gentlemen, take note, Miss Maxine McKenzie, Head of NCB Financial. I know Mr. Linville Hamilton, President of the Used Car Dealers Association, should be joining us shortly as well. Members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good evening and a warm welcome to everyone. It's been over 20 years since the Trade Board last had a service award function, and I'm extremely happy to, on behalf of the Chairman and Board of Directors, return this very important expression of appreciation to those who earn special recognition for their dedicated service and excellence in service. The Trade Board is indeed very fortunate to have staff members whose many years of dedication, commitment, and loyalty have shaped and contributed to our growth, development, and many accomplishments. Now it's time to say thank you. Before I proceed, let me express on your behalf how very happy we are to have the presence of the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Ms. Sancia Bennett Templo. Thanks for your accepting the invitation to be here and for sharing this very special occasion with us. We look forward to your remarks, the remarks you bring on behalf of the ministry. Let me also express on your behalf how very pleased and honored we are to have Mr. Courtney Campbell, distinguished President and CEO of the VM Group, who, as you know, is a leading and well-respected business leader in Jamaica. Thanks for accepting our invitation to share in this very special occasion. We look forward to your address. I would also like to express special gratitude to the partners of awardees who are present with us this evening, because we know that behind every employee is a loved one who provides much needed support and encouragement. I think we should give them a little round of applause. For me, it's an honor to be given the privilege of recognizing our awardees in this way. Your sterling contribution to the Trade Board which is characterized by the which is characterized by the personification of the values we cherish. I speak of the value of trust, integrity, partnership, service, professionalism, accountability, teamwork, social responsibility, and respect. For those who are our long-serving and dedicated awardees, ranging between 10 and 40 years of service, please know that we are very proud to have such reliable and committed employees representing our agency. And we value your extensive knowledge and invaluable experience as significant pillars on which we build or evolve to meet the ever-changing context in which we provide service to commerce in Jamaica. You are all important members of our team, and your knowledge, abilities, contributions are of paramount importance for our continued progress and accomplishments. Let me also give a heartfelt thanks to those who are no longer serving with us, but who have contributed significantly to our journey. A few of whom are here with us this evening. I want to especially recognize Mr. Douglas Webster and his wife, who are here. Mr. Webster, thank you. Mr. Webster served a combined 8 years as a CEO and trade administrator. Thanks for being here. You'll hear a little bit more about him later. I believe we are at a critical juncture where we are being asked to step up to a higher level of service, placing equal weight on our two principal functions, that of trade facilitation and that of trade regulation. In our role as trade facilitator, we take our cue from one of the principal strategic objectives of the parent ministry, that is, to support the growth of exports, which we all know is necessary for the improvement of Jamaica's economic and social well-being. To this end, we are engaged in bringing to life an export academy to assist potential and existing exporters with the requisite knowledge to boost their confidence to engage in export trade. In addition, to provide timely and reliable market intelligence and compliance information for markets around the world. We are also well advanced in the digitalization of all our transactions and internal processes to achieve greater efficiency and to improve the ease and convenience of doing business with the Trade Board. We'll soon be launching our Trade Board app. More to come on these and other initiatives in the very near future. Let me now take this opportunity to say to all the employees of the Trade Board Limited that although we may come from different backgrounds and possess different capabilities or strengths, we should always value our team members, be respectful, helpful to one another, and appreciate our fellow employees as valuable members of Team Trade Board Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude, allow me to address those of our awardees taking their retirement this year. We are truly grateful and thank you for choosing a career with the Trade Board Limited. Thank you for your loyalty and your extensive contribution and devotion throughout the years. You will always be part of the Trade Board's family. As we honor your dedication to service and commitment to service excellence, we hope this serves as inspiration to our other colleagues and for those who will join us in the future. Finally, as we continue to discharge our functions, let us be guided by the principle of excellence in service and fully embrace our role as public servants. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Blake, for succinctly establishing the context of our role and function at the Trade Board. Sometimes we forget that life is not about the destination, but it's about the journey. And so throughout this program, we will be sharing a bit about TBL's journey through the eyes of the awardees. At this time, I invite you to direct your attention to the screen for the first in this set of TBL memories.
Josephine Victoria Muir. I came here 1990 as an janitorial work and then started as an office attendant.
Carl Morgan, Director of Information Systems and Records Management. I started at the Trade Board December 3, 2001.
Jason Mills, I am the Manager of System Engineering and Programming. I started working at the Trade Board in March 2006.
Stanhope Marshall. I joined the TBL in 2006, December 1st. My job title at the time was Accounts Manager, and now I am the Acting Director for Finance and Accounts.
Kanika Tomlinson, I'm the Senior Legal Counsel of the Trade Board, and I joined the Trade Board in the year 2013 as an intern.
Well, somebody introduced me, was working here, and she introduced me here.
Well, the Export Certification Unit, which was formerly a part of JAMPRO, was transferred to the Trade Board during a restructured exercise that was taking place at the time. I came to the Trade Board as a part of the Export Certification unit being brought over. So that's how I ended up here. I had to go through the interview process and all that kind of stuff, but that is how I got here.
I first saw an ad in the papers where I applied. I applied for the position of webmaster at the time. I got a response where I was called in for an interview, where I was interviewed by the trade administrator at the time and my current director, which is Carl Morgan. I did a follow-up interview with the deputy chairman of the board at that time, and both were successful and I was employed.
I became employed by applying for the post of Accounts Manager at the time, and I was successful in completing that interview.
I became employed as an intern, and it was a very interesting story. I had come back from doing my master's and I was looking for a job in trade, and I was interviewed by the Gleaner, and they placed my picture on the front page. And the trade administrator at the time saw my picture, and just by chance he was speaking to somebody to inquire if the person knew me. And the person indicated that they knew me because he wanted somebody in trade. There was no legal position at the Trade Board at the time. And he got in touch with me and I interviewed, and whoops, I had the legal position at the Trade Board as an intern.
Well, from doing the office attendant work, serving tea when meeting in the boardroom and things like that. You have to do everything and serve staff members and everything.
Wow, there are so many things that happen. I go to meetings, I write reports, I have to manage the information systems, my managed projects. I could break all of that down, and it would be a very long list of things that takes place on a daily basis.
Daily tasks would include the development of software applications that will be used within the Trade Board and other agencies. I also liaison with other entities that the Trade Board is involved with trade with, such as the Jamaica Customs. I'm also a liaison between the technological arm of the government of Jamaica, which would be eGov, as well as assist with the network security, network infrastructure, and make sure that IT infrastructure is up and running on a day-to-day basis.
My day-to-day tasks involves doing payments, reports, answering calls, customer queries. It can be about anything, because there are times when I'm in office to do a particular task and the ministry asks for a report or something like that, so it changes daily.
As the only lawyer at the Trade Board, my tasks are a mouthful. But in essence, I review contracts, I review documents, I review trade agreements, I attend meetings, I provide legal advice, I provide technical trade advice, I do presentations, just pretty much represent the organization in any capacities where it needs help.
When I started working at the Trade Board, I liked the place. So I was at Winchester until we got to Constant Spring until we come downtown. When I came here, I saw Mr. Morgan, Miss Butler, Miss Powell, and Carleen Laird, and Janet Morgan, yeah. And Miss Butler, just come in as a relative, somebody been nice to me, right? Until this day. She is okay until I leave work, and she is still treating me okay, same way. And Miss Blake treat me good, just come in like, I must say, maybe her sister or whatever. She treat me all right, same way. Right now she know where I'm living, same way, and she passed by there. I was treated good by staff members here, and until now I left and I have been treated.
Wow, the staff was certainly friendly and very helpful. The assistant trade administrator at the time was quite happy to see a few more men joining the staff, since at the time there were only 3 men on staff at Trade Board at the time, so we'd have added to that. And so I remember that.
The first time here at the TBL, it was different because of where we were located. The office was at 107 Constant Spring Road. I didn't know exactly how the structure would be, but then I was introduced to the staff. I go to various departments, the licensing and so on. So I realized that the first day and what it is that we do here, this organization was something, a place where I could evolve and grow. So I was impressed the first day when I came here.
My first impression was a good one. I was just so happy as an intern to get a job specifically in trade that all I focused on was the sea. So when I came, my office was to the sea level, and I just sat at the sea just reminiscing how good it was to finally get something in my field.
Professional accomplishment. There are a few, but I suppose being asked by the board in 2006 to become the chief. They had created a new position of Chief Information Officer. I didn't apply for the position, wasn't interested really, but I was asked repeatedly on several occasions because they thought I was doing a lot of the work anyways. So I was asked to take on this position. There are others, such as participating in the creation of what was to become the E-Transactions Act. I was the technical advisor to the legal officers as well as the minister during the passage of that piece of legislation. Personally, well, I did get married during that time, and had 2 children during my time here.
One of the main accomplishments that I would highlight right now while working at the Trade Board would be, first, the implementation of the Jamaica Trade Information Portal, which I was integral in the early days in the setup, the implementation, meeting with the various different entities. At that time, I was seconded to the World Bank, which I was working directly on the project to have that implemented, which was launched on May 16th, 2019. The second accomplishment that I will name is being a part of the Trade Facilitation Master Plan, which would include being a part of a committee with multiple agencies, which would include eGov, Jamaica Customs, Cabinet Office, and the Trade Board, where we're looking at all the trade procedures in government and to see how we would have reformed these. And we provide a recommendation that we should have a single system going forward. Coming out of that, the system that is now implemented will be the Jamaica Single Window for Trade, the J-SWIFT system.
My biggest accomplishments were when I went to Parliament. I was acting at the time as the Director of Finance and Accounts, and I had to go to Parliament when the budget was being read. And so I would highlight that as one of the biggest accomplishments, and also going back to school to complete my degree.
I would say professionally was when I headed the Trade Facilitation Task Force Secretariat, which was housed at the Trade Board. And so what that would entail is that we would meet with all other border entities that are involved in trade. And so it gave me a whole scope of how the trading in goods environment operated in Jamaica. I think personally that helped in terms of networking. It grew my skills and my experience. And so those I think, would narrow it down to what was the best professionalism and personal traits that I got working at the Trade Board.
Wow, wow, that was splendid. Another round of applause, please. I must thank those staff members for sharing their insights into the early beginnings of the Trade Board Limited. At this time, I now invite Mr. Danville Walker, Board Chairman at the Trade Board Limited, to bring us greetings. Mr. Walker.
Good evening, everyone. All protocols observed. Notice there are a number of persons who are not here yet. They're politicians mostly. I think they'll arrive just as the bread is put on the table. I'm here to bring greetings on behalf of the board. I'll get that part out of the way, but having spent a very little time in politics, it sort of infects you with a certain tendency to be a bit long-winded and have a bit more to say than what they invite you up here to say. But notwithstanding that, I'll keep it brief. On behalf of the board and all of my fellow directors, I wish to thank you, the management and staff of the Trade Board, for the work that you have done and the work you continue to do. And I want to go into that a bit. I've had, some of you may know, I was a Commissioner of Customs for a while. And during that time, it was my first acquaintance with the Trade Board. It's not because I tried to import a car or anything like that. But working at Customs, we understood how, my view of Customs at the time was that Customs sat at the nexus between the private sector and the public sector. Because if you look around this room today, unfortunately, almost every single item inside here has been imported. Almost every item in this room is imported. Our current minister speaks about exporting a lot, and that is his bailiwick, and rightfully so. I heard you say that you're born 3 years before the Trade Board. And I probably born about 20 years before the Trade Board, 23 years before the Trade Board. So during that time, I've heard many many discourse about, a lot of discourse about export. Monikers that export or die. And it's still worthy of repeating that we must find ways. I remember when at customs, there's so much crowd in terms of importing things, but if you go over to the export hall, you can't kick football inside the hall. I'm telling you, it's that empty. So I stand with our minister in always pushing forward and calling for avenues to be developed to assist Jamaican entrepreneurship to look to export as a way to grow our economy. And that brings me to our staff, because, you know, when you look at the work that we do, for many, when they wake up in the mornings, they have to think about coming to Trade Board to get the approval of the permit, to submit a permit, or to interface. And I know we're online now with a lot. We do a lot more things online, which is, you know, excellent, because it makes life a lot easier. Not because of COVID, we were already down that road. Trade Board was almost a template for the single window system from when I was at customs. The licenses were sent to us electronically. A lot is done electronically today, but from when I was commissioner, the Trade Board, TBIS, you keep me honest, Trade Board Information System, already interfaced with customs. And when persons came to me to talk about, we have to develop a single window system, I said, well, all you really have to do, you know, is to take the Trade Board system and replicate it across the rest of the ministries. It really don't take a lot more thinking. I found though in Jamaica that if it's simple, that probably can't work, and we're not going to do that. All right? I promise you, we would have been way down the wicket, all right, if we just did that. But we're not going to miss a chance to reinvent the wheel. No, sir. We need a better wheel, a bigger wheel, some spokes, want some spinners, can't just have a wheel. But, you know, we keep at it. One of this, I've had the tremendous benefit of serving my country in a number of areas. Most of you tend to know the last job I've had here talking with our guest speaker. You know, I barely work anywhere longer than 4 or 5 years, you know. I don't know what it is. And I look at these things and say, geez, you know, nobody keep me employed that long anywhere, you know. But the blessing of it is that I've had a very storied kind of life, you know, that been in electoral system, as in customs, you know, I worked in the private sector, the observer, worked with Butch Stewart for 7 years. You know, I never could keep one job that long, so I have to make sure I keep getting some other ones, you know. You know what I find is a common thread with the public sector in Jamaica, which is you're part of. I tend to refer to the civil service, but it's a very, fairly specific term, the civil service. But a wider phrase is the public sector. And throughout my career, my working career, I've had to deal with a number of crises and crises, is the plural, right? And what gets us through it is people like the people who work at the Trade Board. I refer to you as the salt of the earth people. You show up every day. You come to work to deliver. When people need you, you work longer. The exigencies of the ministry, these beautiful phrases that you only know if you work in the public sector, I swear. You know, where you stay longer and longer, and it comes to us at the board in terms of, well, how we're going to deal with honorarium, how we're going to deal with overtime, you know, but that's not what I remember. What I remember is the staff, even when we're in COVID and we become forward thinking so we can pay for the internet service of some people home, or make sure they upgrade so that they can work from home to get the work done, to get things processed, those are the persons who cause this organization to do well and deliver. And it's important we deliver, you know, because, as Mr. Coke will tell you, if we don't do well, all those businesses that depend on us not going to do well. And businesses are dreams. They're dreams. That's what entrepreneurship is about, you know. It's about a dream you have to be more than you are right now. And when you need to be when you're an entrepreneur, I think they're switching back over. When you're an entrepreneur, it is such a risk in our environment, in our country, in any country, that you welcome public servants who understand service, who understand trade facilitation, and help you to achieve what you need to achieve. Tonight, what we're here doing is honoring those public servants who chose to remain in the public sector, who kept their talent in the public sector to be of service to the people in the private sector who are pursuing their dreams. And I stand with you. I celebrate you. I'm proud of you. And we look forward to celebrating you more. And as we grow from strength to strength, I salute you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Walker, for such insightful and motivational greetings. At this time, I invite Mrs. Sansia Bennett Templer, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, to bring remarks on behalf of our ministry, the Business Ministry.
Thank you very much, Ms. Roshane Reed, doing an excellent job as Master of Ceremonies at this function. Let me recognize Chairman, and Chairman is a tough act to speak after you, you know. You're one of the best speakers there are out there, so I'm not going to have to do my best. Let me also recognize Ms. Dr. Major Hugh Blake, Administrator, Trade Administrator of the Trade Board Limited. Let me also recognize my longtime friend and former Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Mr. Reginald Boudin. Mr. Boudin, it's very good to see you. Of course, we have to recognize and thank Mr. Courtney Campbell. Yeah, sure you have a busy week, Courtney, so when you take time out to come on a Saturday evening to be here, we have to say special thanks and recognition for your being here with us. I also need to recognize Mr. Douglas Webster, former Trade Administrator. Good evening. And of course, Ms. Michelle Parkins, the Chief Technical Director of the Ministry, recognizing her as well. Management and staff of the Trade Board Limited, awardees, special recognition to all of you. I asked Dr. Blake how many employees the Trade Board has, and he told me 45, and then I counted how many people were getting awards this evening who are current employees, and I got 17. So it means that 33 or more % of the staff of the Trade Board Limited have been with the organization more than 10 years, and I think that's commendable. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you greetings from Minister Aubin Hill, Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, the Business Ministry. Unfortunately, he could not be here this evening, but he did ask that I extend his congratulations to the awardees and wished for everyone a very pleasurable event this afternoon. I am very pleased to be joining you on this occasion, your long service awards function dedicated to the outstanding employees who have, through the years, made important contributions to national development as employees of the Trade Board Limited. At the outset, let me, as I think was done by Dr. Blake, thank all the families, the spouses, the co-workers, the friends who have supported the awardees over the years and allowed them to share their time and talents with the organization. I know that, like many of you, it's for me, what my husband has to do sometimes. You know, go to the supermarket, cook the dinner. A week ago, I had a function, and when I got to my car, a lizard jumped in, so I took away his car and left him at home. So he got stranded. But it's the little things that our families do to support us from time to time that make us able to do the job that we do. So thanks to all of them as well. And I really have to thank and congratulate all of the awardees on the years of service and contribution to the Trade Board Limited and to nation building. In today's work environment, you hear a lot about high turnover, right? We hear about companies having problems finding employees, even here in Jamaica. You hear about silent quitting, and I don't think we have any silent quitting at the Trade Board because both chairman and CEO seems very happy with how the organization is performing. Silent quitting when people go to work, but they're not really doing the work. And a lot of workplace dissatisfaction. COVID has brought some of that into play as well. And so in that kind of environment, it is now doubly important that we recognize our employees and that we keep them engaged. And so I want to congratulate the management for having this function to recognize those who have served long and have served well. I have always known the Trade Board as a regulatory entity. So even when I was at Jambro and I would have had some idea of the portfolio, to me, Trade Board was the entity that gave license to import motor vehicles. And even when I came to the ministry, I knew that there were many other things that the Trade Board would give license for. But I didn't fully understand and appreciate the facilitation aspect of the Trade Board. Chairman spoke about minister's mission. He's almost like an evangelist when it comes to the question of export. And he has made it very clear to everyone in the ministry, to every head of every organization in every entity, every agency in the ministry, how important it is to support, facilitate, encourage exports. And some of the heads of organizations were kind of scratching their heads, right? Because they are regulatory entities. They certify labs, certify food, give license. And so persons were kind of trying to think, now, how do I fit into this whole question of supporting and encouraging and moving exports for Jamaica? And I will tell you that the Trade Board Limited and Dr. Hugh Blake, one of the first to kind of catch the vision. And so we heard now about expanding programs and bringing new programs on board in that area. So I want to commend the Trade Board. I'm sure the staff would have been moving in that direction with him as well. So we now have the, what you call it now, Dr. Blake, the university? Export Academy. So we're now talking about the Export Academy to provide market intelligence and information. We have Step Up Exports. So this is a new and reformed Trade Board who is now looking to go beyond the bounds of what it has always done and to do more for the development of this country and for this nation. And for that, I want to commend each and every one of you here this evening. Because as my minister says, if we don't export more, Jamaica cannot grow and develop. It cannot be that we are only selling to people in Jamaica. We have to sell more. And so everything that each of you does every day to ensure that companies in Jamaica can perform better, can hire more people, and can export more is absolutely and critically important. So thank you for a job well done. As you mark this milestone of service excellence this evening, I hope the event will be an inspiration to others and a reminder that the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra. And as I listen to the awardees talk about their time with the Trade Board, I get a sense that that's part of how they think and what they do. The contribution of awardees and the hard work and dedication of the management and staff on display this evening makes it evident that the Trade Board is on a solid path to achieving its mission. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm standing between you and dinner. So I want to again extend commendation to the various stakeholders and partners for making the work of the Trade Board even more focal as we work collaboratively in marketing Jamaica and making Jamaica, as a place of choice to work and do business. And close with your theme this evening, recognizing commitment to service excellence, which is very evident here in this room this evening. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, PS, for recognizing our work, our worth, and our initiative to align strategically with the ministry's goals. It feels so good to be recognized by the ministry. Recently, we were in a management meeting, and Ms. Butler mentioned that at the Step Up Export seminar, when the minister acknowledged the export certification unit, she felt so good. So we really feel good to be acknowledged by the ministry here tonight. Okay, we will now proceed with a token to the PS. So PS, I will re-invite you to the stage. Now, Dr. Blake, you will be presenting the token to PS. You want to get the shot? He wants to get the shot, the photographer. Sorry about that. He's right there. Yes. Yes, quick. All right. Yes. Thank you so much again, PS, and thank you, Dr. Blake. Now that we have exercised the necessary formalities, Mr. Jordan Grayson will serenade us with another special performance. A round of applause, please, for Mr. Jordan Grayson. Thank you so much, Mr. Grayson. And he is a student at the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts. Another round of applause, please. Thank you again, Mr. Jordan Grayson. Beautiful, beautiful selection. You don't work in government for long without some God in your life. All right, so while dinner is being served, we will now be entertained by Sabri. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome our entertainer for this evening, Sabri. Let's keep the applause going, ladies and gentlemen, and show her some love and some vibes.
Good evening, everybody. So nice to see you all. And it's so good to be in your presence, just to entertain you for a bit. I'm just waiting on my accompanist, and then I'll get ready. You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out and move mountains. We gon' walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. I'll rise up, high like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you and you, for you. When the silence isn't quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe, and I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet and move mountains, bring it to its feet and move mountains. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you and you, for you. All we need is hope, and for that we have each other. Yes, for that we have each other. See, we will rise, we will rise, we'll rise up, we'll rise up, and I'll rise like the day. I'll yeah. For you and Thank you. I was born in a little tent, and oh, just like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change is gonna come. Yes, it will. There were times when I thought I would last too long, but I know now that I'm so able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know, oh yes, I know a change is gonna come. Oh yes, it will. So then I go to my brother, and I say, brother, sister, would you help me please? Oh yeah, oh help me, somebody help me. But you see, my brother, he winds up, oh yes, he winds up knocking me. Oh, back down on my knees. Oh, there were times when I thought I wouldn't last too long, but I know that with God I'm able, so able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes it will. You see, it's been a long time coming, but I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, while we continue to be refreshed, you may recall that I said earlier that we will be sharing some special moments, some special memories from the perspective of the awardees. So while we continue to be refreshed, we will continue to tell the story of the Trade Board Limited through the perspective of our awardees. So again, a few of the awardees decided to share their special memories and their journey at the Trade Board Limited. At this time, I encourage you to turn your attention to the screen for the final 2 videos in the series of the TBL Special Memories.
First of all, going back to the question you asked earlier about first impression, it was an organization drowning in paper and a lot of manual process. And you know, over the years we have moved away from that. But the focus of the organization has also been changing. When I came here, and to a great extent that is still true, but it's changing rapidly.
The TBL has grown a lot since I have been at the organization. I have seen where we have moved from a mostly manual system to a fully automated system. Most of the processes that were previously manual, we have now eliminated those manual steps and made it in an electronic format.
The TBL has grown in so many different ways in terms of staffing, in terms of the work that we do from manual to being online, and also to see where now most departments are fully staffed with staff members who can carry out the functions of each department. We are also being on the road now promoting what we do export and other services that we provide here at the Trade Board.
The TBL has grown in numbers actually. When I started here, I think we had a 30 little, and now it has grown in numbers in terms of 40. And so we didn't have a PR post at the time, we didn't have a procurement unit at the time, and so pretty much in scope, the Trade Board has grown.
Okay, yes, when we was at Constant Spring Road, we used to use stove, and we used to upstairs and me cook. Sometimes I cook from yard and me case and take taxi and go up and get drinks and then buy from me. Like me have one little restaurant for myself, to help myself, you know? But you know, until now, me doing that, and sometimes me cook and sell all 15 lunch. And even since we down here too, me cook and get up early and cook and come down and then buy from me, them support me. And the little change on me I get, you know, never nothing much. So me have to try pin around me and help myself.
I think one of the things that really stands out in my mind, you know, I remember when I was getting married, you know, pretty much the entire management team turned up at my wedding. I mean, I still had an open invitation, but it was still surprising, given that it was a weekday and in the middle of the day. That when I looked, everybody was. The only person that was missing, I think, was the trade administrator. Somebody had to man the shop. I suppose it's not so much of a single memory, but I think one of the things that certainly is memorable is the camaraderie that existed. Fridays were always very, I mean, we let down our ear. And it was easy to do based on where the office was located. We used to meet on the roof of the building, and we played dominoes, we'd have cookout. Occasionally Jason would cook in his famous pork. You know, I think certainly that is one of the things that stand out in my mind still after all these years.
When we used to do our routine cookouts on Friday evenings at our Constant Spring office on the roof, where I was the chef at that time, we would be on the menu with mostly pork. So that event would include the staff staying back on Friday evenings, playing dominoes, liming together, bonding together, and I think that would help and assist in the working together in the coming weeks.
One of my most memorable moments at the TBL was in the first year when I came here in December. Shortly after, we had a staff Christmas luncheon, and that was when I was meeting some of the other staff members for the first time. For that particular Christmas, we had a play, and so I was roped into the play and became a part of one of the players, and so it was really enlightening because we had fun. We also had karaoke that day and so on. So for me, I keep remembering that as part of my memory when I think about Trade Board, where we are coming from and where we are today.
My most memorable moment is a very funny one. Actually, when I started about probably 1 month into the job, the bailiff came to seize possessions at the Trade Board. And I was shocked. I really didn't know what to do at the time because whilst I was practicing law before, I practiced in the private sector. And so I was responsible for getting bailiffs to seize goods. And so I was never ever on the receiving end, representing an organization that the goods are being seized. And so it really took a lot of negotiating skills to talk to the bailiff, to tell him to hold off on the judgment. We'll put things in place to try and satisfy the judgment.
Well, I think it will improve. From me come here, it's been going up all the while, so I think it will improve and going up. There's a big changes me see here. In the boardroom here, you can say it's a big changes. So, you know, so it will be going up.
That the path that we're currently on, that we remain on that path here. The organization moves away from being import-centric to a focus on facilitating export trade.
Where I see Trade Board Limited in the next 40 years is a leading cutting-edge agency that will assist in promoting exports and boost the overall Jamaican economy. So export will lead in the way, and Trade Board will play a pivotal role in that process.
What I'm most proud of is the fact that we are now being visible as an organization. We are now out doing shows. We participated recently in the Expo, and that was a success. We are also doing certification meetings with our manufacturers and so on. So those things are highlights for me because we have always talked about it as an organization, but to see that we are now doing them and going out to do those outreach programs, you know, it really is one of my highlights. In the next 40 years, I see the Trade Board as being the repository for information. We are embarking on a number of initiatives, one being JTIP, the mobile app, and Export Academy, and so these initiatives really are to target persons who want to do business with the Trade Board or in Jamaica in general, in particular export. And so I would want to see the Trade Board within the next 40 years being established in accomplishing all of those initiatives and being visible as much as possible, assisting the Jamaican citizens as well as the country.
My vision for the TBL is to take center stage and place as a central trade organization in Jamaica. I think right now we're kind of skewed into one area, but there's a lot of growth that I think the Trade Board can adopt to take center stage as a center trade domain for Jamaica.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. My wish too for the Trade Board Limited is that we will continue to go up, 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 as Ms. Muir said. It would be remiss of me not to ask the awardees who were featured in the videos to stand briefly so that you may be acknowledged. Mr. Stanhope Marshall. A round of applause, please. Thank you. Mr. Carl Morgan. Mr. Jason Mills. He's a favorite, it seems. Miss Josephine Muir, who isn't here today, but let's give her a round of applause. And finally, our legal counsel, Miss Kanika Tomlinson. Thank you all so much. We will continue to be refreshed. Thereafter, we will resume the program with the introduction of the guest speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back and we will continue according to our program. At this time, I invite Ms. Renee White, Director of Human Resource Management and Administration, to welcome our guest speaker, to rather introduce our guest speaker. A round of applause, please, for Ms. Renee White.
Miss Rashane Reed, Master of Ceremonies. Miss Sancia Benny Templo, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. Miss Michelle Parkins, Chief Technical Director, Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. Mr. Danville Walker, Board Chairman of the Trade Board, Board of Directors, Trade Board Limited. Dr. Hugh Blake, Chief Executive Officer and Trade Administrator, Management and Staff of the Trade Board Limited. Other specially invited guests, members of the media, and the reason we're here tonight, our awardees. Good evening. I am humbled to introduce our guest speaker for this, the second Employee Service Awards function in the 40-year history of the TBL. This evening, we are celebrating commitment to service and excellence, values that epitomize our guest speaker, Mr. Courtney Campbell. Mr. Campbell is the President and Chief Executive Officer of the VM Group, a position he assumed in 2016. The VM Group is a leading Jamaican financial institution with operations that extend to major financial districts in North America and the United Kingdom. Upon assuming the position of President and CEO, Mr. Campbell immediately went about igniting a transformation of the organization, which includes an ambitious digital strategy that has led to new products and services being delivered in modern, convenient ways. He has leveraged the organization's cultural belief and core values to kindle the VM's team passion for uplifting Jamaicans. In November 2021, VM Group underwent a brand transformation, signifying publicly the reinvigorated spirit and focus of the group. As the head of the VM Group, it should come as no surprise that Mr. Campbell is a strident advocate for greater financial inclusion, which is the founding purpose of VM. This is also a significant motivator behind the work he does. Prior to joining the VM Group, Mr. Campbell had already established a record of success in several senior executive roles, including the role of CEO of Grace Kennedy Financial Group and the head of Retail Banking Division with the National Commercial Bank. Mr. Campbell attended the University of the West Indies and holds a BSc in Management Studies. He earned an MBA with distinction, which was jointly awarded by the University of Wales and Manchester Business School. He is also a member of the Certified Institute of Bankers, London. Mr. Campbell is a director of the VM Building Society and all its subsidiaries, as well as its associate company, British Caribbean Insurance. He is also the chairman of the VM Group, a former chairman of the National Education Trust, and the United Church Mission Enterprise, a corporate champion for the UISTAT Mona campus, and serves on the Governor General Jamaica Trust and the Investment Committee of the Council of World Missions. A Justice of the Peace, Mr. Campbell is an advisory board member to the Governor General's Program for Excellence and an I Believe initiative ambassador. A family-oriented individual, he is married to Pauline, and together they share 2 sons. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our guest speaker, Mr. Courtney Campbell.
Thank you very much, Renee. I was saying to the others at the table that the introduction, I think, is longer than the speech, but thanks a lot. And I'll have you introduce me everywhere. Renee, great job. Mrs. Sancho Bennett Templer, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. Miss Michelle Parkins, Chief Technical Director. Mr. Danville Walker, Chairman. Dr. Hugh Blake, Dr. Major Hugh Blake, CEO of Trade Board Limited and Trade Administrator, other directors of the Trade Board, other executives and staff of the Trade Board, partners of the Trade Board, including our custom brokers leader, Mr. Cook, and I have to say, awardees and special congratulations. Let's have a round of applause for all the awardees. And I have to ask, is Miss Joan Butler here? She's not here. The 40-year-old lady? Huh? What about Rona James? Is Rona James here? Well, let's see Rona James. Where is she? Come on, Rona, 37 years. Well done. Well done, well done. But congratulations to those who have organized this event. I think it has been well done. Do you agree? And I love the videos. Congratulations to those who put them together and those who were interviewed. You shared some great stuff. I'm happy to be with you this evening for this happy celebration of the Trade Board team's commitment to service excellence that has so far powered the Trade Board for more than 40 years. It is a real special privilege for me to be asked to share with you. And the fact that this celebration is taking place and that your collective focus for the evening is on highlighting, you notice the theme, recognizing commitment to service and excellence. It makes me confident that you are rewarding, people reward what you want to see more of. And so you are recognizing and rewarding service excellence. It means that the Trade Board is guaranteed to be successful for many more years ahead. And you will be thriving for many more years ahead. You have been serving our great nation, Jamaica. You know, our nation is so powerful. This week it was announced that eligible travelers from 13 more countries now qualify for visa-free entry to Canada. And then in the same week, we heard that Canada is having some bushfires that impacting as far away as New York. So, you know, our people good with memes. So I saw a meme today that says, Canada abandon, because they never put Jamaica on the visa-free list. You see how powerful? That's why Canada abandoned. Jamaica powerful. The truth is, though, that the growth and strengthening of the Trade Board has been to the great benefit of this nation over the years. From its establishment in December 1982 as a trade regulatory and facilitatory agency of the government of Jamaica, initially focusing on import and export licenses, the TBL's evolution has had many highlights, and I want to just lift up some things that impressed me. First of all, of particular note are the expansion of your mandate in 2002 to become Jamaica's designated authority to issue certificates of origin after the function was transferred from JAMPRO. In 2003, regimes for refined sugar, milk powder, and cement were instituted at the Trade Board. And in 2007, with the scrap metal regime, I was having a discussion about that earlier this afternoon. When that was introduced, your responsibilities expanded further. We haven't heard actually a lot of noise about scrap metal recently. So it means you're doing a good job bringing some order to that industry. You also assumed responsibility for motor vehicle dealer certification in 2010, and along the way, boldly executed a digital transformation to improve service experience while continuing to deliver on your core objective of being a champion and facilitator of trade, both imports and exports. Now, talking about that, we've been focusing on the exports, and quite rightly so. Our nation's export earnings show the impact of your work. According to Statin, Jamaica last year, 2022, generated export earnings of just over 1.9 billion US between January to December. So that represented a 28.4% increase over 2021. The value of last year's exports surpassed the 1.65 billion earned in 2019, which was prior to COVID-19, by 15%. So this growth that you helped to facilitate a reduction in Jamaica's trade deficit. So, but our trade deficit still is $5.8 billion US. And so that's what we need to begin to work on. And that's welcome news for our country, though, that growth in exports. And we have to work hard to increase our export earnings even more and to lower our import bills significantly. Because in the same year, our imports rose by 29% to 7.73 billion US dollars. So it is clear, therefore, that the work of the Trade Board is critical for our future as Jamaicans, and that to fully achieve what the nation needs, we need you to achieve. The Trade Board team will have to be energized, engaged, and empowered for the journey. So I've heard some things this evening that really impressed me, and the one that stood out for me, and PS referred to it, is the Export Academy. Because what that says is that Dr. Blake and the leadership team, they're focused on empowering people with knowledge, because knowledge is power. What that says to me is that you're going to be empowering people with knowledge, and if they know what to do, you're going to be liberating them to do so much more. So I would say everybody get behind that Export Academy and make it a big success. Do you agree with that? So the question is, how can you help yourselves and your teams to build engagement around the critical work of the Trade Board Limited? I've been asked to share a few thoughts on service excellence as a foundation for sustainable organizational growth. And based on all the global empirical data, this connection is really very straightforward, actually. In fact, the international business consultants, McKinsey, report that the most healthy organizations, those that were the most effective in working together in pursuit of a common goal, outperformed the average organization, not by percentages, but by multiples of up to 3 times. Whether we're talking about returns to shareholders for listed companies or sales growth for others, these organizations, what did they do? They took time to align all their employees, all their staff members with the goals of the team. They ensured that just as what you're doing with, and Mr. Budan told me about the work that you have done with ISO certification. These organizations took time to ensure that the business processes enabled the team to execute with excellence, and they had mechanisms to facilitate continuous improvement and continuous renewal over time. But you know what? This is something that you all know. I believe this all starts in one place: the commitment of the team. So how do we secure this important commitment? Well, I think the answer is most efficiently captured in one word. And what is that word? VISION. Vision. All successful businesses are guided by a powerful vision and by people who are committed to the fulfillment of that vision. You know, the VM group, just to say a little about VM, we're guided by such a vision, and that vision was not articulated by me because I only joined in 2016. This is an organization that in November will be 145 years. In 1878, a group of churchmen from different denominations, Anglican, Congregational, Presbyterian, a Jewish rabbi was the first secretary of VM. So it was very ecumenical. That group of religious leaders 145 years ago imagined a better future for the economically marginalized people of post-emancipation Jamaica. You know what had happened in 1838 is that we're freed, but the freedom stopped there. There's no better health care, no better education, no right to vote. You just weren't owned by someone. And 40 years later, the conditions hadn't improved. In the 1860s, you had cholera. And that's why we had things like the Morant Bay Rebellion. And so in the 1870s, these religious leaders came together because their vision was a mutual organization established on the principle of financial inclusion and equality, where all people, regardless of your social status, could gain financial empowerment, the same empowerment that you're trying to provide to the exporters, and the dignity that comes with that financial empowerment. And today, this vision, it's the same vision that guides us today as we in VM work actively and purposefully to help transform the lives of the people we serve in Jamaica and in the wider Caribbean region and in North America and the United Kingdom. This kind of drive to serve others with excellence must continue to be the pillar for the Trade Board Limited as well. How can this be nurtured and sustained? I think it requires a couple of things. One, visionary leaders, value-creating processes and technology, and valiant team members. It is clear that you have visionary leaders, your CEO and the board, and it is noteworthy that you have been pioneers in technology adoption, and we heard some of the interviews from the people who are leading your technology, and we heard Major Blake speaking about some of the initiatives in that regard. And it is clear that you continue to actively improve your processes because we know that you have taken on the ISO standardization. And you're being intentional in making your work more efficient and more effective. Your ongoing efforts to nurture your people then will no doubt serve the organization well. So I want to then talk about the valiant people. Because from my own experience, I want to offer some thoughts on how we can all empower ourselves and our teams to execute on meaningful work and consistently deliver excellent service. So I'll lift up 4 words for you in this short presentation. The first one is purpose. Understand your purpose. Why are you here? You know, the story is told about 3, and I'm sure so many of you have heard it before, 3 bricklayers who, after the Great Fire, there's a great fire in London in 1666 that flattened London. And so these bricklayers were among the team that were commissioned by the world's most famous architect at the time, Sir Christopher Wren, to rebuild St. Paul's Cathedral. If you ever visit London, you should check out St. Paul's Cathedral. It's a famous landmark there. So one day, 5 years later, 1671, Sir Christopher Wren observed 3 bricklayers on a scaffold. And one of them was crouched, the other one half standing, and the third standing tall, working very hard and fast. And he asked them, "What are you doing?" The first bricklayer said, "I'm a bricklayer. I'm working hard to lay in bricks to feed my family." The second bricklayer responded that, "I'm a builder. I'm building a wall." But the third bricklayer, the one who was obviously the most productive of the 3, and the future leader of the group, when asked the question, "What are you doing?" he replied with an obvious gleam in his eye. He said, "I'm a cathedral builder. I'm building a great cathedral to the Almighty." And the story of the 3 bricklayers is really a metaphor of the power of purpose, where the cathedral builder demonstrates a personal expression of purpose that transforms his or her attitude and gives a higher meaning to his or her work. It also made him better at what he was doing. So a vision that is not driven by a larger purpose cannot move anyone. What is your vision for your life? What is your vision for Team Trade Board Limited? How is that vision driven by a purpose? Let it be a vision, friends, that reflects a positive impact on the world, because Roosevelt Moscant, a Harvard professor, she says, a vision is not just a picture of what could be. It is an appeal to our better selves, a call to be something more. And this purpose-driven vision is a type that stirs your blood every time you think of it. It is a mark that you hope to leave on the world or on those around you. Another writer says, "Make no little plans. They have no magic to stir men's blood." So, do you know what happens to you when you are driven by purpose? First of all, you take responsibility. I love the story of Winston Churchill. He addressed the graduation ceremony of Harvard in 1944. And he made a point to them that, America didn't have to get involved in the Second World War. It wasn't their war. It was a European war, really. But he said, because you stepped up and took responsibility, it's going to make you an even greater nation. And he then made a short statement that I love and have adopted, that the price of greatness is responsibility. The price of greatness is responsibility. So anytime I listen to people who always pointing a finger on other people and never own anything, I said they're not going anywhere. But anytime I listen to people who hold up their hands and say, "I take responsibility," I said, there's a star. Sometimes we take responsibility for things you don't know about, or you're not directly responsible for. When you hold up your hand and take responsibility, so I said, there goes a star. So step up and deal with matters that are not even in your line of responsibility. That's what purpose-driven people do. At VM, we adhere to the tenets of a culture of accountability. And one of our organization's beliefs is accountability starts with me. I urgently own VM's success. If it's to be, it's up to me. So understand the purpose of your job. This requires honest introspection. Why do you come to work every day? What motivates you to get up and put in the long hours and contend with the taxi men on the road? Right? And head back home in the evening just to prepare to do it all over again tomorrow. connecting with the purpose of your work and of the work that you do is essential to achieving excellence. Do you know what you're doing? You're more than facilitating exports now. What you're doing is you're helping to create jobs. You're helping to feed more families. You're helping to reduce a trade deficit. You're helping to stabilize the exchange rate. You're helping to control inflation by the work that you're doing. You know, when I think of the work that you do, I remember when I was a young banker in corporate banking in the 90s. And I had loan proposals from my customers. And I was a young married man. But I would stay up until 2:30 writing these proposals because in my mind, I'm helping to create jobs. Yes, as one little bank, NCB at the time, right? And as one account executive. But if I can help my customer to buy this new equipment or expand this factory, I just feel like I was connecting what I was doing with some families and some jobs. You get the point I'm making? And it's the same story for you. So purpose is the fuel that will help you to power through the tough times, through the early mornings, through the late evenings, and the tedious meetings and all the sacrificed weekends that you have to sacrifice sometimes. Purposeful work is rewarding and invigorating. But the second word that I want to leave with you is to prepare. There's a famous quote by Benjamin Franklin that by failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. And this captures the importance of preparation to the achievement of excellence. If you're going to be excellent, you have to put in the work. So, preparation requires sacrifice. It means you will have to take the time to get ready for the tasks before you well ahead of time. It means that you will be responsible for looking at the big picture to determine what will be required of you at different points of the journey to success. And then you will have to act decisively. This may mean consulting with colleagues from other departments or investing in short courses to brush up on your weaker areas. Nowadays you can go on YouTube and learn a lot. True? But honest introspection will reveal what is needed to adequately prepare that. You know, what have I done? I believe in continuous improvement. Yes, I have the big title of president and CEO, but nobody reads in VM more than I do. You understand? Nobody is doing any more research than I am doing. Because we have to really, and I have to ensure that I'm investing in my continuous growth, even now, at this point. So, you know, whether it is further education, whether it is reading periodicals, you all have some advantages that we didn't have in my time when I was younger. You have things like, if you use them positively, social media, Twitter, and so on, you can follow the periodicals and the you know, the agencies that can give you really great insights if you use it well. You have lots of business books you can read. The point is you should feed your mind with positive and helpful material that will help you to broaden your perspective and allow you to step out of your comfort zone. Reading widely will also provide you with an advantage in your career because two things: knowledge is power, and the second thing, most people don't read. So if you read, you're going to give yourself an advantage over 90% of people. So first word, purpose. Second word, preparation. The third word is perform. Commit to excellent performance. It is not enough to know your purpose and to prepare. At the end of the day, that preparation has to be reflected in performance. So you cannot effectively execute the important function of the trade board unless you all commit to excellent performance. We have to put the preparation into practice. Your education, your exposure, your experiences, your training, your varied abilities and talents, and your passion are all gifts that cannot be buried. Take the risk and step into the unknown. Take on a new challenge. Expose yourselves to the unfamiliar. What does high performance look like to you and in your respective areas? You have to engage those thoughts. Is what you're doing now qualified It may have been excellent in 2022. Is it excellent in 2023? Given the greater demands. So we have to engage those thoughts. Your commitment to high performance cannot be superficial. It must be aligned to the purpose of your work about which you spoke earlier. It's all connected. And then the fourth and final word I want to leave with you is to persevere. You know, it is said that nothing worthwhile is easily attained. And I'm sure that many of you here tonight, this evening, have learned the lesson along your respective journeys. A lot can and will go wrong in your daily undertakings. But unless you persist and cultivate an abundant reservoir of perseverance, your journey towards your vision will be short-lived. Nothing excellent is ever achieved on a whim. Excellence requires grit, willpower, and unshakable determination. We have to build resilience as individuals. All of us have life-challenging experiences. Ill health, loss of a loved one, other traumatic events, family or workplace problems. Resilience is how we bounce back from difficult experiences, because we're either experiencing one now, coming out of one, or going into one. That's what life is about. And psychologists tell us that a combination of factors contribute to resilience. I won't go into details with them. Firstly, we have to invest in caring and supportive relationships within and outside the family. Secondly, we have to remain optimistic. You know, avoid seeing crises as insurmountable problems. This too will pass. Try looking beyond the present to hope future circumstances may be better. And then keep moving towards your goals. Do something, even a little thing, to take you in the right direction. Develop some realistic short-term goals that keep you moving in the right direction. And listen, the journey will not feel perfect every day. There will be disappointments. There will be frustrating days. And the words of former U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt, I just love these words. I have to share them with you, because they inspire me, and they should inspire you to get off the sidelines, to get involved, and to push for high performance. Here's what he says, and you can Google it. It is not the critic who counts, not the man or woman who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Get off the sideline. Get involved. Get committed. And push for high performance. And while you're pushing for high performance, remember that there will be naysayers. True? There will be naysayers. Some people will discourage you and come up with lots of negativity and cast their own fears and limitations on you. That is life. Expect it. Some will question your motives. Others will simply doubt your ability. When this happens, do not be distracted. Keep focused on your vision. Keep focused on your purpose. And then also remember that failure is another risk that you will face. Expect failure and overcome it. Because guess what? The most successful persons have experienced more bad luck and failure than the less successful. They have taken more risks. They have failed more, but they get up again. They don't stall. They fail sometimes, and they keep moving forward. This is basketball final season. And of my generation, Michael Jordan was a big star. What did Michael Jordan say? I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times, I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again, and that is why I succeed. Friends, I hope you have heard something tonight that moves you to take and to make a fresh commitment to being a champion of service excellence in this very important Trade Board Limited. As I said at the start, the nation depends very heavily on the work that you do. Jobs, families are reliant on you. Be encouraged, be determined in your pursuit for a better Jamaica for all of us. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Mr. Campbell, I believe you preached a sermon we all needed to hear. Thank you so much for that. I must invite you back to the stage briefly for Dr. Blake to make a presentation to you. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Good job, MC. Thank you very much.
Let's see if we can recall those 4 words. Be purposeful, prepare, what's next? Perform, and persevere. Thank you so much, Mr. Campbell. Well done, well done. Okay, at this time we will have a final selection from Miss Sabri.
So congrats to all the awardees tonight. When I look at where I'm coming from, I know I'm blessed, and I close my eyes and smile. Sometimes I feel like the richest girl in Babylon. I've done my best, now everything's alright inside. Oh, every morning I rise and stare at the sun. I know that it is a blessing. So when the evening comes, I lift up my eyes to the hills. I'm blessed, oh yes. Can I get a clap? Oh, 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 as far as I can. Ooh, yeah, yeah, as far as I can. Sometimes I'm lost and far from home, but I'll find my way. Follow my heart, I know I'll be found someday. And while I'm lost, I'll learn and live. What do you say? Let's have a little fun until that day. If you know it, sing. Oh, every morning I rise, I stare at the sun. I know that it is a blessing. So when the evening comes, I lift up my eyes to the hills, I'm blessed, oh yes. And with my two hands in the air, everybody clap. Whoa, oh, 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 let me hear you. Whoa, oh, as far as I can. Ooh, whoa, oh, oh, whoa, oh, as far as I can. Oh, every morning I rise, I stare at the sun. I know that it is a blessing. So when the evening comes, I lift up my eyes to the hills, I'm blessed, oh yes. Thank you guys for having me.
Beautiful, beautiful performance. I can, you can, we can. Now, as mentioned earlier, we're going to be sharing just one final special moment, which actually is a collage of photographs, well, from over the last 40 years, but as many of those that we could find. So we weren't able to find exactly photos from 1982, but we have enough to establish and convey the evolution of the Trade Board Limited. So at this time, I invite you to direct your attention to the screen for one last time. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I am the heart of a champion. Heart of a champion, yeah. Yeah. It's my time, it's my place, it's my destiny. No one can take away what was meant for me. My granny said, what for you can be unveiled. No man never see where God plan for you, yeah. The best is yet to come. If I believe I can, no holding back, no giving in. 'Cause I know I was born to win. Was born to win. I was born to win. I was born to win. I have the heart of a champion. I have the heart of a champion. Through the pain, through the dark night, through the storm, I remain and I strive. I will carry on. Yeah, 7 time fall, 10 time rise. Yes, I open my eyes, and now I see the sun. If I no holding back, no giving in. No, 'cause I know I was born to win.
Wow, wow, wow. Just beautiful, beautiful memories. I was born to win. If you believe it, say it with me. I was born to win. We were all born to win here at the Trade Board Limited. Now, we'll move into the real reason we're here, the presentation of awards. I can't wait. Can you wait? All right, if you're ready, say, I'm ready. Yeah, man, we're ready long time. All right, so this section of the awards will be presented to retirees, right? Or former staff members. So we will begin with our retirees. But the way in which this is going to flow is that a citation will be read for each of those 5 persons that no longer work with us, or former employees. So after the citations have been read, PS will be invited to present those citations and awards to the former employees. At this time, I invite Mr. Stanhope Marshall to read the citation for Mr. Michael Brown. Let's get a round of applause, please. Thank you.
Ready? Okay. Citation in honor of Michael Brown. The Trade Board Limited is recognizing Mr. Michael Brown for his outstanding contribution of 25 years as an office attendant and driver. On May 15, 1995, Mr. Brown started working as an office attendant on a temporary basis, and on April 1st, 1996, he was appointed to the role on a full-time basis. Mr. Brown retired from TBL on March 1, 2020. Mr. Brown's hard work, devotion, and diligence during his tenure at the TBL earned him the respect of the management and staff. While employed at the TBL, he maintained a stellar attendance and punctuality record which characterized his personal discipline. In addition, Mr. Brown exemplified a positive ethic and showed exemplary commitment on the job. He was always willing to go beyond the call of duty. The Board of Directors, management, and staff of the Trade Board Limited and its stakeholders expressed their appreciation to Mr. Michael Brown on this day as a long-serving staff of the TBL. We honor and salute you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Now, Mr. Brown was unable to join us this evening, so too is Miss Josephine Muir. So at this time, I'll ask Miss Renee White to make her citation.
Citation in honor of Miss Josephine Muir. The Trade Board Limited is recognizing the indelible contribution of Miss Josephine Muir to the organization for 25 years. On June 11, 1990, Miss Muir started working as a part-time cleaner and was officially confirmed in the role of office attendant on August 1, 1994. While working at the TBL, Miss Muir was seen as the mother who tenderly cared for staff and provided useful advice. She was diligent and committed in the performance of her duties. Miss Muir is an excellent baker and cook. Consequently, staff members looked forward to having lunch every day from her extensive and delectable menus. Based on her skill set, she operated a cook shop at the Constant Spring location. On Fridays, colleagues anticipated her fritters for breakfast and Jamaican baked products. Miss Muir retired from the TBL on November 1, 2009. However, after her retirement, she was engaged for 6 additional years. The extension of her contract with the Trade Board Limited came to an end on February 27, 2015. The Board of Directors, management, and staff of the Trade Board Limited express their appreciation to you, Miss Josephine Muir, on this day, Saturday, June 10, 2023. We honor you with this citation as a long-serving staff of the TBL and salute you for your outstanding service during your tenure.
Thank you, Ms. White. We will now move to the citations for former management employees. And reading the citation for Mr. Clifford Hall, former Director of Licensing, Certification and Enforcement, is Ms. Althea Matthews, his successor. Make her welcome.
Pleasant evening, everyone. It is a privilege for me to be reading the citation in honor of Mr. Clifford Hall. Today, Mr. Clifford Hall is being recognized for his exceptional commitment to service at the Trade Board Limited for 11 years. He was employed as Director for Licensing, Certification and Enforcement on September 21, 2009, and served in that capacity until he departed from the organization on December 31st, 2020. Mr. Hall distinguished himself as a technical expert with a vast knowledge of the motor vehicle industry in particular. In his role as director, he was insightful, hardworking, flexible, and adaptable. He utilized his expertise to efficiently and effectively lead that division. His unwavering commitment and dedication to his role and function at the Trade Board Limited conjoined two phrases. And without fear of contradiction, those two phrases are excellence exemplified and intellectual foil. As a justice of the peace, Mr. Hall embodied the true definition of volunteerism by willingly authenticating documents for staff members on demand. Mr. Hall's benevolence, compassion, and strong interpersonal skills distinguish him as a servant leader whose business acumen and advice were revered. The board of directors, management, and staff of the Trade Board Limited and its stakeholders express appreciation for your service. Mr. Clifford Hall, as a long-serving member of staff of the Trade Board Limited, we honor and salute you today, Saturday, June 10, 2023. Blessings.
Blessings, blessings, blessings indeed. Now, the next citation in this order to a former management employee will be read by Miss Rochelle White to Miss Jacinta Lumley.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to stand here today to read a citation for Miss Jacinta Lumley. For 18 years, Miss Jacinta Lumley gave exemplary service to the Trade Board Limited and is being recognized today for her contribution to the organization. Ms. Lumley began her service as an administrative officer on January 3, 2000. Over the years, Ms. Lumley proved herself to be an effective, diligent, efficient, cooperative, conscientious, and a hard worker who got things done. While employed at the TBL, she served in a dual capacity as the Human Resources and Administration Manager and the Corporate Secretary. She was described by her superiors and peers as an employee who helped to raise the bar at the TBL. Her level of energy and enthusiasm was second to none in the execution of her job. Ms. Lumley remained in these positions until her contract ended at the TBL on December 31, 2018. The board of directors, management, and staff of the Trade Board Limited and their stakeholders express their appreciation to you, Ms. Jacinta Lumley, for your dedicated service on this day, Saturday, June 10, 2023. We honor and salute you as a long-serving staff at the Trade Board Limited. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And the final citation which will be read is for Mr. Douglas Webster, former trade administrator and CEO of the Trade Board Limited. And of course, this citation will be read by none other than Mr. Carl Morgan.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Douglas Webster is being honored today for his 8 years of sterling contribution as a trade administrator and chief executive officer of the Trade Board Limited. Mr. Webster actually did 2 different stints with us as trade administrator, 2009 to 2012 and 2016 to 2021. Mr. Webster was first seconded to the Trade Board on April 14, 2009, where he served for 3 years before returning to the business ministry in the capacity of Director of Policy Planning Projects and Research Department. He was seconded to the Trade Board a second time when the board was experiencing particular challenges. He was chosen because of his unquestionable integrity and the need to improve operations and public confidence in the board. Even though an economist by training, when it came to the business of the Trade Board, he did not make assumptions on even the most basic matter. He would ask questions, and on receiving clarification, he would say, "Just want to be sure." On April 27, 2016, Mr. Webster again transferred from the Policy Planning, Projects and Research Department back to the Trade Board Limited, where he served for a further 5 years, which ended on the completion of his contract June 15, 2021. During his tenure, Mr. Webster stood out as a trade administrator and CEO with a penchant for the written and spoken word, and constantly and confidently displayed his fluency with the English language. His vast knowledge of trade and economics positively impacted his work, and his years of experience in trade allowed him to skillfully and successfully steer the Trade Board Limited through various operational challenges. His impressive knowledge of his functions and their interrelatedness was a trusty weapon in his arsenal. Mr. Webster represented TBL in a wide range of engagements where his knowledge and insightful contributions were impactful. His participation in staff activities endeared him to his team members. I actually have a famous photograph of Mr. Webster, they didn't show it, with him sitting down cheering on the Jamaican Olympic team from some years ago. The board of directors, management and staff of the Trade Board Limited and its stakeholders expressed their appreciation to Mr. Douglas Webster for outstanding service as a long-serving trade administrator and chief executive officer of the Trade Board Limited, and salute him on this day, Saturday, June 10th, 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. I now invite PS to make the presentations of citations and awards to the awardees. The first award will be presented to Mr. Michael Brown for 25 years of service to this organization. Receiving the award for Mr. Brown is Mrs. Sharon Blake. Let's keep the applause going. Mrs. Blake, you're looking so divine. Woo! All right, I'm going to ask Mrs. Blake to remain in place. For the second citation, she's collecting that on behalf of Miss Josephine Muir, who served us for 25 years and visits us every Friday with baked goodies. All right, the third citation will be given for Mr. Clifford Hall, and Miss Noel Daly will be collecting that on behalf of him. Take your time, take your time. Please convey our congratulations to Mr. Hall, who was unable to attend. For two more PS. For 18 years of service to the TBL, Miss Jacinta Lumley. Thank you for joining us, Miss Lumley. It's a pleasure. You want them to go down a bit? Okay. Excellent, excellent. And for 8 years of service to the TBL and being the only trade administrator and CEO that has served us for 2 stints is Mr. Douglas Webster. Give this to Pierre. Okay. And another one. We're working out the logistics. Just like old times. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Thank you. Congratulations to our former employees, all 5 of them, and thank you, PS. We'll move now to the second category of awards, which will be presented to long-serving members of staff. In 3 categories, we have the Extra Mile Silver Award for those who have served for 10 to 19 years, then the Long Haul Gold Award for those who have served 20 to 29 years, and the Pioneer Platinum Award for those who have served 30 to 40 years. At this point in the ceremony, we will continue to celebrate our awardees, starting with the Extra Mile Silver Awards. These will be presented by Mr. Danville Walker for persons or for staff members who have served 10 to 19 years. Mr. Walker, kindly join us on the stage. Now, our first awardee in this category is Miss Kanika Tomlinson for 10 years of service to the Trade Board Limited, our legal counsel, looking very fashionable tonight. Excellent. Congrats, Miss Tomlinson. Let's bring up the photos of the awardees, please. This is the presentation of awardees to long-serving staff members. We have just done Miss Kanika Tomlinson. Now, our second awardee in that category is Mr. Nkrumah Price for 12 years of service to the TBL. And he's joined tonight by Mrs. Price. Welcome, welcome. Congratulations. All right, congratulations. Now, for 14 years of service is my very good friend, my mommy at Trade Board, the one who interviewed me, Mrs. Sharon Blake. Mommy looking hot tonight, I must say. All right, thank you. Now, for 15 years of service, we're growing, you know. For 15 years of service is Mr. Richard Sims. And he's joined by his family tonight. Thank you for joining us. Congratulations. Now, for 16 years of service is Miss Sharon Fisher. Looking lovely tonight, Miss Fisher. Another staff member who has served 16 years is Mr. Stanhope Marshall. Okay, accounts, finance and accounts, we see you. We see you, we hear you. All right, for 17 years of service is Mr. Jason Mills. Woo! Woo, woo! All right, thank you, Mr. Walker. Congrats to all the awardees in the Extra Mile Silver category. We will now move to the Long Haul Gold Awards for those who have served 20 to 29 years. To present these awards is Mrs. Catherine Lewis Green, who is the chair of our Finance and Administrative Subcommittee of the board. So let's get those images ready for the staff members. Now, the first awardee in this category is Mr. Carl Morgan, 21 years of service. 21 years. He got married at Trade Board, had kids at Trade Board, did so much at Trade Board. Congrats, Mr. Morgan. All right, next up in this category is Mr. Rohan Graham. Another male, another male on the team for 23 years of service to the Trade Board Limited, processing permits for motor vehicles and other things. Well known. Thank you. Another well-known member of staff that many who apply for motor vehicle permits would know is Miss Mernell Townsend. 26 years of service. Now that's something. By now, you would have noticed that all members of staff in the Information Systems and Records Management Unit are long-serving staff members. They're not leaving Trade Board. Though our IT people are with us for a while. We love you and we appreciate all that you have been doing and will continue to do to see Trade Board go up, up, up. All right, next up is Mrs. Carleen Laird-Williams. 28 years of service. Looking fabulous, looking fabulous. Well known among us. A lot of the dealers and applicants know Mrs. Laird-Williams. 28 years of service. That's substantial. Another round of applause, please. Thank you, thank you. Another member of staff, her very good friend too, who has served equal time, serving 28 years with us, is Miss Jacqueline Samuels. Well known, well known. Congratulations. Thank you, Mrs. Louis Green. That represents the final awardee in the Long Haul Gold Awards category. Now, I don't take these awardees for granted. 20 to 29 years is no easy feat in one organization. So thank you again, Mrs. Louis Green, and congrats to all our awardees in that category. Now, presenting the final set of Employee Service Awards in the Pioneer Platinum Awards category is the one and only Dr. Major Hugh Blake. He will be presenting these awards. Dr. Blake, kindly make your way to the stage and let's get those photos ready for those staff members who have been serving with us for 30 to 40 years. Now, that's a big deal. These individuals represent the founding mothers of Trade Board because they're all females. Now, the first awardee in this category is Mrs. Janet Morgan Graham. 30 years of service, and this award will be collected by Miss Noel Daly. Come on, let's keep the applause going. 30 years of service. And this is Mrs. Janet Morgan Graham on the screen. Well known too in processing permits. Now, our next awardee in that category is Miss Lorna Brissett. 30 years of service. This award will be collected by Miss Jacqueline Samuels. 30 years of service to Trade Board. She's currently on duty travel, which is the reason she isn't here with us today. Yes, let's keep the applause going. Now, for 36 years of service to the Trade Board Limited is none other than Miss Cheryl Ann Powell, founding mother of Trade Board. Looking very nice, Miss Powell, looking very nice. All right. For 37 years of service is Miss Rona James. All right. All right. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, in this category, let's have a little drum roll for Miss Joan Butler, 40 years of service to the Trade Board Limited. This deserves a standing ovation, ladies and gentlemen, for 40 years of service, a whopping 40 years. And this award will be collected by Mrs. Sharon Blake. This is truly remarkable. Miss Butler is one of our stalwarts, our confidant, our motivator. She's a great resource. She's actually the repository of trade at Trade Board. Unfortunately, she could not join us tonight, so Mrs. Sharon Blake is collecting the award. She's probably online. This brings us to the end of the service awards. Thank you, Dr. Blake, and congratulations to our long-serving members of staff. We will now shift focus to the third and final category of awards dedicated to our top performers. A little drum roll, please. Now, this presentation will be done in three main categories: Employees' Choice Award, the Values Icon of the Year Awards, and the CEO's Award for Staff Excellent. Should I call it a night or should we continue? All right. I now invite Ms. Michelle Parkins, Chief Technical Director in the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, to present these awards. Now, we all had the opportunity to vote electronically or manually for our Employees' Choice Award. And the votes are in. The votes are in. They have been in. The employee who will walk away tonight with the Employees' Choice Award is... That person is a long-serving member of staff. So that gives us a clue. That member is also a member of which unit? The Information Systems and Records Management Unit. Ladies and gentlemen, our Employees' Choice Awardee is Mr. Jason Mills. Well deserved. All right, thank you, CTD. Congrats, Mr. Mills. That's it. All right, so I will now invite... All right, so at this time I will invite Mr. Sean Azan to come to the stage to make a presentation for the Values Icon of the Year Awards. Now, these awards are like departmental awards. Nominations were received from directors and from the CEO. Now, let's bring up the nominees, not the awardees, please. Yes, let's bring up the nominees. So the nominees for the Values Icon of the Year Awards are Miss Lorna Brissett from the Export Certification Unit. Our second awardee in that category is Mr. Stanhope Marshall from the Finance and Accounts Unit. Let's keep the applause going. All right. Another nominee is Mrs. Carleen Laird-Williams from the HR Unit. Also nominated for the Information Systems and Records Management Unit is, yes, Mr. Jason Mills, again. And 3 nominees were submitted from the Licensing, Certification, and Enforcement Unit. These nominees include Mrs. Janet Morgan Graham. Let's keep the applause going. Miss Jacqueline Samuels. And Mrs. Nichelle Robinson Roberts. Now, the committee assessed the nominations based on the substance of the contribution and evidence in the details provided. The votes are in, ladies and gentlemen, and the winners of the Values Icon of the Year Awards are Miss Lorna Brissett manager in the Export Certification Unit. And this award will be collected by Miss Jacqueline Samuels. Let's keep the applause going, ladies and gentlemen. Our second awardee for Values Icon is Mrs. Carleen Williams-Laird, Customer Service Officer in the HR unit. Congratulations. Let's keep the applause going. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Azan. I now invite Mr. Campbell to present the final two awards in the Values Icon Awards category. Now, yes, you may join us on the stage. Now, the third awardee in the category of Values Icon is, drum roll, yes, 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 Mr. Jason Mills from the Information Systems and Records Management Unit. Yes, Jason, it's you. Yes, you. So that's 3 awards now. The man of the night. Congratulations. Now the final awardee in the category of Values Icon Awards, and this person is from the Licensing, Certification and Enforcement Unit. Who is it? Nichelle, who else? Jackie, all right. So the winner from the Licensing, Certification and Enforcement Unit is, oh Jesus, Mrs. Nichelle Robinson Roberts. Sorry to spoil the surprise. Come, technical team, work with me. Don't spoil this last one coming up now, please. Let's hold on first. Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Congrats to all the Values Icon awardees. Now, we're at the point of the program where we will focus on the most coveted award in the trade board, right? This is the CEO's Award for Staff Excellence, and I have to invite Dr. Blake to make this presentation. Now, if you know Dr. Blake's standards are pretty high. Well, any CEO standards, I believe they would be high. The criteria for the CEO's award include quality of work, dependability, positive attitude, initiative, and professionalism. Now, nominations were received from 2 units for the CEO's award. And the units that these nominations came from are the Export Certification Unit. Let's get the applause going. So we're focusing on nominees now, please, technical team nominees. And 2 other nominees came from the Licensing, Certification, and Enforcement Unit. Let's keep the applause going. Now, the nominees in this category are the nominees, technical team, wait until I call the name first, please. The nominees in this category are Miss Treasure Anderson. Pause it, technical team, thank you. The second nominee is Miss Christina DeHarris, and of course, it's already on the screen, Miss Althea Matthews. A round of applause for the nominees. Who do we think will win this award? Remember, dependability, quality of work, positive attitude, initiative and professionalism. All right? So the winner, technical team please, the winner of the CEO's Award for Staff Excellence is a female. All right, and technical team, please. All right, now we're serious now, technical team. We're very serious now. The winner of the CEO's Award for Staff Excellence is from the Licensing, Certification, and Enforcement Unit. And that award goes to none other than Miss Althea Matthews. Look, yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Blake, and super congratulations, Miss Matthews. One of us from the ranks of management. There is hope for the rest of us, right? Since this is the most coveted award, I will share a summary of the details from the nomination form. It says, Miss Matthews is a very thoughtful individual who quickly understands complex issues and provides and executes appropriate responses. She is a people person who participates at all levels of the organization and truly demonstrates what it means to be a team player. Miss Matthews exercised her initiative by developing programs and engagements with stakeholders. One such example of her initiative is the Import Policies and Procedures webinar. Ms. Matthews competently guides her department to higher levels of performance as measured by the established KPIs. Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Ms. Althea Matthews, the CEO's awardee for staff excellence. And that concludes the awards. As we wind down, I now invite Ms. Kanika Tomlinson, Legal Counsel, to move the vote of thanks on behalf of the awardees. Ms. Tomlinson. Make her welcome.
Good evening. I'm going to try and make this very quick because I was told this was supposed to be a dancing event and we haven't started dancing as yet. And so I'll be very quick, or as quickly as I can. Okay, so this is the vote of thanks on behalf of the awardees. Mrs. Santia Bennett Templar, Mr. Danville Walker, and the members of the Board of Directors of the Trade Board Limited, Dr. Hugh Blake, Ms. Michelle Parkins, Mr. Courtney Campbell, guests, performers, and to those for whom this event is held, employees and former employees of the Trade Board, good evening. I was tasked to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of the awardees tonight. This has been a very long journey. This has been a wonderful experience. We have been holding up the pillars of the Trade Board. There is great appreciation working with the company. There have been ups and downs, good and bad times. There has been a lot of changes, especially moving from manual to digital. The company has held professional growth through exposure and the building of networks. Through the Trade Board, there's contribution to the growth of the economy and the wider society. These were the sentiments expressed by some of the long service awardees. To put these sentiments into context, and which you've already heard, the Trade Board was established since 1982, some 41 years ago. This is before even some of us were born. For others, this was at a time they were approaching puberty and even experiencing all those mixed up emotions. Do you remember, Mr. Walker? You remember those? You don't remember those times? And for others, they were just starting their lives as young adults and starting to work.
The life of a civil servant can be an arduous one, as we are charged with running and maintaining government institutions on what sometimes can be described as meager budgets. But more significantly, at the Trade Board, we are tasked with facilitating trade and exports so that the private sector players can blossom. And this blossoming effect manifests in the growth of our economy, which benefits all Jamaicans. You may not have thought about it this way, but as civil servants, this is a magnitude of the weight we carry. Recognition of this weight does not usually manifest in the form of, say, 200% salary increases, or even 150, or even just 50%. But, to retain our minds, but we are nonetheless thankful. We are thankful because the role we play, what we do to help others in our day-to-day duties, and the services we provide gives us a sense of appreciation and internal gratification. We are helping others, and even without realizing it at times, we are simultaneously contributing to the growth and the development of the Jamaican economy. On behalf of the long service employees, we thank the Trade Board for employing us and recognizing our years of service and the efforts that we would have made through our services to improve the Jamaican economy. Boy, it's a good thing the Minister Hill isn't here, because I know he's always talking about the growth and the lack of growth, and so I would have to backpedal a little. But just to say, if the Minister were here, that even though we're not, because he uses those charts, PS, but just to backpedal and say, but even for the minimal growth that we have experienced, the Trade Board has helped to facilitate that minimal growth through our long service awardees. We would also like to thank the team at the Trade Board. While we sometimes have our differences like any other family, we tend to usually work hard together to achieve our objectives. Case in point, on the day we took the pictures for those employees receiving an award for long service, we were also required to take a group shot. Now, I became miserable, insisting that we need to hurriedly present ourselves to take the group picture, as I felt we were not being considerate of the time that the cameraman spent waiting on us. When we were finally huddled together and posed for the picture, one of the cameramen indicated that he could not see all of us, and some of us would need to bend. Immediately and without hesitation, one member of our team shouted to the cameraman in response, "Do you know why we're taking these pictures? It is for long service. This means none of us here in the group is able to bend. We have bad knees." This comment was received with great laughter from the rest of us, and the mood of the group changed from my insistence that we hurry and take the picture to one of a more relaxed mood. It was then decided and agreed that 4 specific individuals among the group would be placed in specific positions. When the time is right to take the picture, they would bend, as they expressed the ability to not only being able to bend their knees, but they could also remain in that position for a long time to facilitate the picture taking. The cameraman expressed readiness, and it was time to bend. Despite his best efforts and prowess, one of the individuals who agreed to being able to keep the bend could just not manage. And after bending for 2 to 3 seconds, his bend became the shape of a peacock, bottom out and standing like this. I'm not disclosing. Of course, this evoked a huge amount of laughter. This story mentioned is to reiterate our thanks to the team, as no matter how difficult the task, we always pull together to meet the objective. And in this case, no efforts or knees were spared to have the picture taken. Thanks to our families, it wasn't Fisher. Thanks to our families that provide the requisite support to enable us to do what we do. On behalf of the awardees that are retirees and former management employees of the Trade Board, this adage could not be any more true. Better late than never. While we are no longer employed to the Trade Board, we thank the Trade Board for this public acknowledgement and recognizing the value that we made whilst within its employ. It is refreshing to see that our contributions have not been forgotten. On behalf of those special category awards, We give thanks for the recognition of our abilities out there, our hard work, and the sacrifices we would have made in helping to build and contribute to a stronger and better trade board. We look forward to many more years of effective service. Thanks to our parent ministry, the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Dr. Blake, the chairman of the board, and the board of directors who, under their stewardship, approved the hosting and spending, more importantly, spending for this event. The last time, as was mentioned, we had this event was 21 years ago. We thank them for placing such a high value on the recognition of staff and former staff. And finally, we would like to thank all of you here present for making the time to be with us while our efforts, achievements, and accomplishments are being publicly recognized. Thank you.
Well said, well said. Thank you, Ms. Tomlinson. Oh, what a night. What a night it has been. A very beautiful night, a very beautiful occasion is coming to an end. But there are a few key takeaways that I must share with you tonight as we remain pumped up to support Jamaica's growth in investments, export, job creation, and the economy. That's our theme, our 40th anniversary theme. And so we would have had many nuggets being shared with us tonight, especially from Mr. Campbell, that will keep us pumped up at 40 and beyond to continue growth in Jamaica's exports and investment. There were a number of key elements tonight that stood out for me. Mr. Campbell's message stood out. It was truly motivational, and it gave us a number of tips to continue for success and to continue in the organization. I must point out PS's strong recognition of Trade Board, of our value, of our worth, of our contribution to the overarching ministry perspective and strategic goals. Finally, I must thank a number of key individuals who made tonight a success. I must thank Dr. Blake, our CEO, for his leadership, his insight, his initiative, his encouragement, and this opportunity. I also have to thank my colleagues and members of the Employee Staff Awards Committee. And I'll have to ask you guys to stand. Ms. Renee White, who has spearheaded this occasion in partnership with PR. Keep the applause going. Ms. Rochelle White from PR, one of the key planners. Mrs. Sharon Blake, a key member of our Welfare Committee and our Staff Awards Committee. And Ms. Rose, another key member, as well as myself. Thank you, ladies, for assisting with the execution of this fabulous event. Everything, every detail came very nicely together. We spent a lot of time. We thought it was really important to share the story, the journey of Trade Board, the evolution of Trade Board from the perspective of the staff. I must also say special thanks to all our past and current TBL staff members. Special thanks to the family members, the plus ones and twos who would have joined us in person tonight, and those who are watching online. Special consideration is noteworthy for our family members, consideration for our early mornings or late nights or weekends, public holidays, all those extra times we have spent at the Trade Board for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40, 40 years, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. It's a lot of years. Thanks to our suppliers, our streaming support by JIS, the venue, the decor, the graphics, the videography, the photography, the printing. Thank you, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being a fabulous audience. I could not have done it without you. Thank you for your vibes. Thank you for your applause. Thank you for just being here and being supportive. Now, this part of the event has come to an end naturally. The dance floor is now open. DJ, please take it away. Please take it away. We invite the awardees for a group shot. Please, just a quick group shot, all awardees. Let's boogie, let's dance, let's enjoy the final moment.
group shot